Uh, okay. So this isn't like my other couple streams. This is just like a really quick thing that a friend wanted me to do for like sketching and guidelines with a pen and like how to like press down lighter or like darker and just like just like the really basic stuff for just sketching. And they use pen, so I'm also use pen. Um, to start off, I'm gonna just do a um a jaguar since that's kind of like what we were drawing when the question came out. And as usual, like all of these are pictures like I'm using like reference off of Google Images. So this is like the second picture that pops up if you just type in jaguar into like the Google image search. So um, and there's gonna be this little shadow here because my tablet needs to charge, and this is the only setup I can do right now. And it has the cord straight in the light, so there's nothing really I can do. Also, you're gonna get the shadow from my hand because this is the only way that I can get it as like least shadowed as possible, but also have the camera facing right side up since last time it was upside down the entire time. Sorry, but I think the first thing that they kind of struggle with is that they push like down really really hard and they make the final line first instead of doing guidelines. So like when you're drawing pretty much anything, you want to like start off super duper light. Like can you see that? Yes. Like here's like pressing like, and sometimes ink will just come out and it'll be a dark line anyway. But you can press like super duper light using this part of your hand as like a rest. So if you are heavy handed and you have to push down, just push down here, like on your hand, and then just move it with your fingers. Press down harder with like your fingers, and then you'll kind of lean your hand more this way so that like the weight that you were putting on like right here and like up the side of your hand would be on your fingers instead. And like that would be for solid line or like darkening in. Then you can always like do more or less, uh, you know, lighter, darker, whichever you want. And like you can still get darker without pressing down hard. You just like go over the lines more than once. And like that's how you would shade with pen. I'll try to get that out of the shadow. There you go. So when you're sketching anything, usually like with the head, you want to start off with like basic shapes and namely like a circle. So you just want to sketch it out super duper lightly because with a pen you can't erase. And I know you can go like way lighter than this, but I am kind of heavy handed. I tend to draw heavier. And like it's hard for me to like erase pencil lines sometimes. And I'm looking at my reference for like the angle of the head. So this is like the midway point. It helps you know where like the nose would be. Like this would be the bridge of the nose, and like it helps you know which way it's looking. So like, can you see this? Yeah. Okay. So like if they were looking, more this way, then the line would be that way because their head's turned, and you can see more of this side of the head than this side. Or if they were look this way, that's kind of like a more downish forward. And then you can separate lines too. Like this one, of course, they'd be going down because like that line suggests down looking, but then this one, they could be looking up because like that's the center of the face. Well, kind of center of the face looking that way. Or you could ignore this line and you could do it going down, and then that'd be them looking that way, ignoring that line, of course. So the leopard or not leopard jaguar in the photo is kind of looking up some but not much, so you want to do just above the center of the circle. And you always, because this is a 3D shape, you want to use kind of curved lines like it is like the circle. So if you were to cut like a circle in half, it just wouldn't be like a straight line. It'd have it'd have curvature to it. There's just kind of things that you just pick up after time. Like you just gotta like learn it and learn to keep it in mind. And you can start with pretty much anything, but I like to put either the ears or muzzle in first. And like since jaguars' muzzles are really pronounced, I tend to start with like those first. But I always get my bearings with this line and like where the eyes are. And in a jaguar face, the eyes kind of rest a little bit above the center line. So like I just very lightly will put that in. This is just look at the references, see like how far apart eyes are, and like of course this will vary if like you're doing real or not real or just how skilled you are. And then the nose is pretty wide, so and it's kind of like this peach or not peach, like kind of pear shaped. Like yeah. And the nose is kind of like way down to like the end of the circle. And I'm kind of messing this up some. Like yeah. Kind of. This is like really bad because I'm not used to like really drawing on the floor, but and kind of comes up like that. You just gotta look at your references and study from references really, and then like the nose. And see here, I'm drawing like a little bit darker because this is kind of like the final ish nose, and then let's see, there's like the mouth. And these are just suggested lines, like right here. That's like a suggested for shading. It's not like an actual like separate. Like this part of the nose isn't really completely separate from this part, as whereas like the nose is kind of like a separate entity. So that's why it has these darker lines to like show that it's separate. While this just kind of suggests that it's like on a different layer of the face. And then there's like the eyebrow ridges and stuff, and this is not realistic at all, and it's kind of like out of my style-ish, and I'm not drawing the realistic eyes. I'll just kind of draw my little stylized bits. And of course, you could always sketch these too. Like you can practice eyes by like sketching out a circle and like learning that. You just kind of gotta study things differently, and and you just kind of do stuff like that. You just gotta practice things. You just kind of learn to pick up on things after a while. And of course, this jaguar is like really stylized, so it's not to reference completely. Just to save that on chime because it'd take me a lot of trial and error. And then in the reference, you'll see that like this bit of the eye. And if you're unsure, you can do what I'm doing here now, like with like these guidelines, which you could like shade away later, or just make your actual lines darker to hide it. See, like when I do that, it kind of hides my mess up here and here. And like if I do that, it kind of like hides that this little shaded bit is kind of dark. It just the contrast pulls your eye into like the shaded bits and away from the not shaded, but or like the lighter lines that you put in. And of course, I wouldn't get rid of it completely. That's why kind of pencil is preferred. But if you like shade it and go like do like a lot of stuff to kind of like distract it, you could still do sketching in pen and it'd still look fine. But if you want to completely get rid of it, there's kind of not a way to do that unless you shade like super duper dark and you sketch super duper light. It is what it is. You can make like a lot of like little lines so you kind of like get your bearings and you don't have to like commit to like one solid line, even though like one solid clean stroke often looks better and like you can really see that like you're confident with your line in your actual artwork. But if you're just sketching for fun, sketching for learning, then do that. And my eyes are really really wonky. Oh no. And you can go as like as detailed as you want. You just look at the spots or do whatever. You can just do like kind of suggestive stuff, like you're stylizing it. Just see which way things are going and such. You know, like that, I messed up a lot, so that doesn't look good. But just darken things up, add, you know. And then if I were to go, well, it's kind of skewed a bit, the fact that like I've already drawn this, but like if I went to like try to go in and draw like all of it at once, like it's really like all of the finalized without drawing the actual thing is a lot harder, and like it doesn't, the proportions get off because like I didn't have any guides before I drew like the actual thing. And like I make a mistake and like the final darkened line is there and I can't, like go over it and like figure out what looks bad and fix it with like some sketches. Oh geez, I'm so scared to do this because like it's gonna look really bad. No. Yeah, like it's I'm really tired and I was sick all night. That's what I'm using as my excuse. That's not a lie, it really was. I got a stomach bug last night. Like even now, like I'm so used to just sketching first. I'm doing like these tiny lines, but I'm trying my best to like actually see like that's way worse. Even though I've already had practice drawing it once before, so it's like I know what I'm drawing, but it looks way worse. And even the sketch lines kind of help to add interest to it. Like just like the different line weights and such. It kind of like vary stuff for like this. Say you were to do it with a box. Okay, I'm gonna just draw those little boxes that they teach you how to draw in school and stuff. Okay, so there's that box. It's okay. It's it's a box that's serving its purpose. But then you shade it and you add all those different kinds of lines. And you're taking up more space and there's less just stark white, stark black. It looks way better, even though you just filled in some things. Or even if you sketched it first. And then you go over it. You still got those lines in there. That is just breaking up the space. It's not even full shaded, but it still kind of looks better. It just looks more interesting than the first one. In my opinion, you might like the first one, where it's just completely black and white. That's your thing, cool. And I don't know. I'm just doodling. No. Yes, it's kind of it. You can do this with more than just animals too. You can do it with like flowers. You really lightly draw in. I gotta check. See if this is doing its thing. Can you see this? No, I need to scooch. Okay. Okay. You can do this with like flowers too. You look at your reference. You kind of to judge where things are and how they look, and if it looks wrong, then you can fix it now. And it'd still look better if you went straight in with that mistake. Then, Ooh. And like say, I want this to actually like go out more. I can do that now. Whereas if that was like a solid line, it'd be a lot harder to hide that I messed it up the first time. Ooh. Whoop. Whoop. Unnecessary sound effects, I'm so sorry. And then you can even add stuff with more sketching. And then you get where you want to go. You just keep shading. And like this doesn't take too much like skill what I'm doing here. I'm just literally just lightly scribbling pretty much. You just gotta make sure that you don't move your wrist that much. You just go straight up and down. You want to go make as like many lines go parallel, no, parallel to each other, like straight. Because like it literally looks like scribbling if you're going like all over the place. But then you could practice that and make it like your style, I guess, if you wanted to, like little curly scribbly, you know, shading. It's like all about like practice and just figuring out what works for you, really. But yeah, you do different kinds of shading. Like, see, I'm going super light, and I went outside the lines right there. It kind of hides it if you have like this dark line, and like you can't really see those little bits that went out because your eye's too busy focusing on the super dark line and everything else in the photo or drawing. Like, I forget exactly how like the quote goes, but like pretty much the difference between a good artist and a bad artist, like quote unquote, isn't that the good artist doesn't make mistakes. It's just that the good artist is better at hiding and using those mistakes than the bad artist is or the beginner artist. I'm like, that's pretty true. Like I've learned how to like just weasel my way around mistakes. As in like when I first drawed. I first began like drawing and stuff. When I made a mistake I was just like, oh well it's ruined, bye. And like now I kinda recognize that like, oh, I'm just chilling and drawing, like it's not a huge deal if like I accidentally mess up or whatever. Or like again, if it's like client work or commissions, it kind of bums you out because it's somebody else's drawing. You want to do them good. I just completely darkened that in because I was just scribbling, but um, yeah. But it was just like drawing like this. Don't like be super sad if you mess up or whatever, because like that I messed up real bad on that eye, but I can always just try again, draw it again. Oh, that was my phone. Sorry. Uh, but yeah, just some sketching tips. Just gotta line stuff. Oh, and if you're not comfortable with drawing a circle like this, you can go with the natural curve. Like when you flick your wrist, it goes this way, like kind of like a curve. So you can use that, and you can kind of move it around. And like if you're lining something, you can't really like get the curve right. You can just kind of like move it and get it better. I kind of like learned to kind of unnaturally do this, like do the curves with my wrist. So like, I can't really think of a good like example to show like right off the spot. But when I do digital art, for sure I rotate the canvas all the time because I'm not good with getting clean art on digital. So like I'll rotate the thing all the time so that I get it on like the kind of like this, kind of like I think a sweep going downward is what I do. I don't really know. I'd have to again like just do it in the moment. I can't really explain it or think of one off the top of my head, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this helped those who wanted it, and if not, sorry you had to sit through this really basic and not good tutorial, but this was just me like unplanned, unscripted, just hop out of bed and I'm gonna teach somebody how to sketch with pen. But yeah, I'm gonna go now because they're probably wondering why I'm not texting anyone. Um, hope this helped. Um, Hope it's not belittling anyone by how basic it was. Like, oh, I don't know how to sketch with pen. What are you trying to say? Of course I know how to do this, but this really wasn't directed to like a general audience. It was kind of more specific for one person. So, yeah. Hope you guys have a good night or day or whatever time it is, whatever, date it is that you're watching. Yep. Bye.